Hello and welcome to Olsem Wanem. As Papua New Guinea adapts to a faster pace of life, our youths are being faced with issues relating to education, employment opportunities, and poverty, as well as infrastructural development. With the country's population standing at around 7 million, 76% are 34 years of age or younger. The term youth is defined by the United Nations as persons between the ages of 15 to 24. But policymakers, researchers, and project designers typically adopt a wider age range. The National Youth Council, on the other hand, defines youth as people between the ages of 12 to 25. Oftentimes, it involves persons between the ages of 12 to 30. With a population of over 7 million people, people between the ages of 15 to 34 make up over 36% of the population. 76% are 34 years or younger. These young people are faced with many issues every day. One major issue is negative peer pressure.
I think one of the important things as well is peer pressure. It comes back to the foundation in the family. Family or an organization or an institute or those type of areas where when they don't embrace the young people, when the system takes them out from the education perspective or job opportunities and all that, that's where peer pressure comes in. That's where they involve in activities that were not right, that were not good, and it's sometimes leads to criminal activities.
Often young people want to fit into a particular group or be accepted in a particular group. So instead of standing out, they try their very best to fit in. Negative peer pressure may then lead on to activities such as involvement in drugs and alcohol consumption and various other issues.
They have their own peers. Time I'm looking at them sit down and to black see water or smoke drug. Narislam come up in Chelo, plant is suburb in Chelo City. I'm a big something through.
Research has also shown that lack of proper parenting also has a negative impact on the growth and development of youths.
The very important building up of a child is through the house, through the family, and that's where the parents are the very important people, because that's where they build up a child to be who he will be in the future. If they don't discipline the child in a way where he should come up, then obviously we will face these issues.
In addition to peer pressure and lack of parenting, other issues that affect youths today are the opportunity to be educated or further their education, employment opportunities, poverty, and infrastructure.
The first one will definitely be education, unemployment, and due to a lack of law and order, it's the opportunity for them to be open to things such as drug and alcohol abuse.
Firstly, lack of infrastructure, education, and unemployment when it comes to youths.
2011, I was grade 8. I finished my grade 8, but the problem is the school fees, so I didn't school after 2 years.
Welcome back to Olsem Wanem as we feature issues affecting today's youths. Young people account for the greatest share of crime and violence. Many argue that this is due to poverty, lack of education, and unemployment. It is obvious that a good education will enable a young person, or any other person for that matter, to have increased chances of taking advantage of opportunities to be successful in life. However, that is not the case for many young people in Papua New Guinea.
I didn't complete my schooling. I completed grade 9, and then from then I was staying in the village.
Education is one of the biggest issues. Not only is it that there aren't enough, there just isn't enough spaces in the schools, there aren't enough schools. So the number of primary schools around the country is very large. And then we move on to secondary schools where it starts dropping. So our founder, Father John Glynn, spoke about how we start off with 20,000 kids in the primary school, and then we move on to the secondary schools where there's only about 15,000 spaces. And then from secondary schools, we move on to the universities where there's only 4,000 spaces for young people. And because we aren't, our government isn't building enough schools or universities, a lot of young people are just missing out because there's no space. And education, we say and we believe that education is an important part of building this nation, but I don't think we're doing enough to actually address the issue. Second of all, unemployment. Young people are facing a lot of issues when it comes to unemployment because there's just a lack of job training opportunities, or when they go through a school system and then they drop out, where do they go after that? How do they get a job so they can sustain themselves? So unemployment is also another great issue.
With lack of education or not having the opportunity or the financial means of furthering one's education and gaining proper qualifications then leads to the struggle of obtaining employment. A youth unemployment survey was conducted in 2011 to 2012. This survey was conducted in Kokopo, Port Moresby, Lae, Madang, Goroka, and Mount Hagen. The survey was conducted by the National Youth Commission in conjunction with the University of Papua New Guinea and the University of Western Sydney, Australia. Out of 318 respondents, 44% arrived in towns in search for jobs. 33% migrated for studies. Over 50% were primary and secondary school dropouts. And over 10% had tertiary qualifications. While only 32% of the youths in this survey were employed, and the other 68% had no formal jobs. Majority of the respondents stated that most social issues come as a result of unemployment.
Nimlo mi homes, mi blo golf blo kikori, but Mr. Lo Mosby. Lo side do youths lo Mosby and me like to was again. Nowadays, mi blo youths lo Mosby and life a mad lilik. Gama no work lo luksa lo mi blo youths. Sample blo fail lo grade 12, sample fail lo grade 10. So now me look at life a mad lilik. Sample mangi osa stop selling boy smoke now work lo go stealing. Beg don mama na still passing mo kama big blast up. So that's a side door youths me like talking gama no se mamas kad look side lo dislaga no beginning stop nothing lo road lo mosby.
Me like talk lo side lo mi lo golf lo especially lo kigori and Olsem one plaga in rural place where plenty money are put on but no got all development lo side lo sports all youth about all leaders lo mi no support team.
Research has also shown that poverty is a root cause of crime and violence among young people. There are many issues that affect the lives of our youths. It is important for young people to realize that despite being faced by many obstacles, they have what it takes to overcome them, and there are avenues to get help such as the NCDC Urban Youth Employment Project, as well as church youth groups. The Urban Youth Employment Project started in 2013 with over 2,500 youths. Today, it has over 2,700 youths involved in this project.
This is 2,853. Some people also go straight to work, direct job training. Now some people also start here, youth job corps now, Ben also go to PET, or practical education training number 10, Ben also go to PET. After the PET finish, also find more job placement role, OJT, on job training. So, something I'm just program by working me.
Many of these youths have not had the opportunity to further their education. This is due to lack of school fees, or they were just not able to continue further and are unemployed.
The point of me joining this group is because most of the time I stop nothing in the house. No work lo make him. So one of my boo-boos told me that there was a program on, so I said, okay, we'll go and I'll join. So when I went and joined, I joined and it was like very interesting.
Nemblomi Stanley Akus Nemblo San Island Spanja. Lo 2007 mi finish secondary school na mi kan lo mospi lea mi no panyon la wok mi stop natin mi join mo drug body na mi just run of some last stillman. Mi ran natin ko but last year na this program coming inside time mosem mi look some good la living.
I came to the Mosby and one of my uncles saw me and he was asking me a schooling and I said no. And he was asking how old I am. I said, oh, I am 18 years old, but me no finish school me so I'm looking at talk. I said 1 plus school stop, so I was me play come to avenue.
Side blow. Employment opportunities, yeah. Employment opportunities, this level was one block and second chance blow youth. So me looking at all come busy keeping time blow yeah, only go only working money to earn. So they're like kept in an environment which is like safe. Now only no go outside now. Finding more kind of living about.
So encouragement blow me youth. We said you stop around nothing was a city. No continue no drug. Na siran last 21 and 3 months or or no continue no plan down go still na sagan because time you go still. Katres belum gaman stop bullet by killing you number you die or aus karabus. Nang gori no boni milana kirab life lumila lo stable sa ground na. Stop nothing no same all. Bone suffer, live suffer na die suffer. God got plan me so maybe God give him good atindi lol good lol man. Now kirab sa program na. This opportunity you must take him. You start Wanem up corner. Every after 40 days, you shall YJC finish. Nubla YJC also come Nubla 40 days, Mr. Look at them all. So you start Wanem up corner, was a city. Look at notice, must go give name Blina. Start register na really low. Come join him sa program.
Youths from the Barocco United Church also stated that being involved in spiritual activities, such as being part of a church youth group, can have a positive impact on young people.
I think most of the issues that young people are facing today are drugs and alcohol, unemployment, and as well as young people in our ministry, there's something unique about being in a church.
In order for us to tackle these issues, we can involve the young people to be part and parcel in these ministries. So in that way, they can be enriched and be encouraged, and they can change through the Word of God. And those organizations also they offer allowance and basic needs for those young people. And so it's very important that the government should come in and step in and be partner with the churches, and they can also solve these problems that the young people are facing.
Corruption in Papua New Guinea is widespread and it penetrates all levels of society. Youths are often the forgotten victims of corruption. The Youth Against Corruption Association is one organization that has young people standing up against corruption.
To me, I recognize that corruption was a very important issue that youths needed to be concerned about and youths needed to address. So when I came to that recognition of what corruption is and how it affects everyone, especially youths, I joined Yaka.
The reason I joined Yaka, which was in 2013, I realized that corruption was a big problem which faced a lot of youth, and through Yaka it empowered me to know that I have a voice to facilitate change, so which is why I thought it was a good way in order to give back to fellow youth in the country.
Yaka, for short, was an organization that was actually started in 2002 by a retired priest. He was then the chaplain at Jubilee Catholic Secondary School, Father John Glynn. So he started the group in Jubilee, and over the years it was spread out to other schools. But what happened was during those years, the association also died out. Then in 2012, Transparency International PNG decided that they would fund the association and try to revive it again. So in 2012, Transparency International provided funding and hired a youth coordinator and provided an office space for Yaka to use to carry out its activities.
Watch this video to learn more about the Global Youth Anti-Corruption Network.
and how it raises awareness against corruption through music and empowers young activists all around the world to fight corruption by providing them with the space to share knowledge, ICT tools, ideas and experiences. The Global Youth Anti-Corruption Network is an informal, structured network of youth organizations, youth activists, journalists and artists fighting corruption and promoting good governance around the world in their communities. You can follow them on Facebook or on Twitter.
Corruption, a fact of life no matter where you live. Around the world, groups of young activists are working hard to fight corruption and improve the lives of their country's people. In 2010, they formed the Global Youth Anti-Corruption Network, a dynamic group designed to bring these innovative thinkers together. On January 12th, the group was gathered together remotely for the first time to share their ideas, experiences, and music.
We have a common goal, we have a common focus, and we are connected.
The day began with a discussion of networks themselves and how they can offer insight into the group dynamics.
So this is just another illustration of how we can use network analysis to think about how we're connecting as an organization, how we're connecting as individuals, and how we can actually strengthen our interactions as a group.
All eyes then turned to India, where the youth group Patang shared their beliefs on the power of transparency in government.
We should definitely move towards more transparency in our lives. We should walk the talk and we should definitely practice what we preach.
Patang advocated successfully for the passage of the Access to Information Act and has seen nationwide change as a result.
It has also empowered the individuals to engage more deeply with governance and take initiative to fight for their own rights.
The key message here is that information and access to information changes fundamentally the relationship between the citizen and the state.
One way to raise awareness and empower citizens to ask questions is through music. These young activists produce songs with bands from all over the world to spread their anti-corruption message.
Corruption is a thing that we are living with on a day-to-day basis here in Zimbabwe and stuff, and maybe in many African countries as well. So coming up with the lyrics themselves was not really a challenge.
The group was also exposed to a new approach to polling, using mobile technology as a tool to engender nationwide communication.
We are a network of young people, and I think we have an opportunity to bring in fresh and new ideas.
By doing away with methods that are costly and time-consuming and embracing mobile technology that so many people carry with them every day, leaders can tap into their people's opinions on issues that are very complex, and some that are pretty simple too.
If you remember in my presentation, I asked you to call into a number and I did a mini survey with you. I asked you the question, do you want to hear our music band from Colombia play? And those who called in, 100% said yes.
In the Philippines, a group of young thinkers wanted to change the way that supplies were delivered to local schools. They partnered with everyone from the Boy Scouts to major corporations to make sure that school supplies found their way to the classroom.
Why is it that the textbooks could not reach those far-flung villages while Coca-Cola soft drinks are readily available in stores? And so, the Department of Education started talking with Coca-Cola. Is it possible that you can deliver the books while you are delivering the soft drinks? And they agreed.
Their success proves what can happen when citizens work together.
The important thing to keep in mind here is
if you want to push a reform, a governance reform, an anti-corruption reform, you really need to build a coalition, because you're not going to be able to do it by yourselves.
As the summit wound down, it was clear that everyone involved saw the potential power of this network.
We are also appreciative of the fact that it widens the horizon of our young people here, that corruption is not only a domestic issue, that it could be raised at the level of the global level.
So Bangladesh, Belgium, Burundi.
The group members walked away energized by the ideas that were presented and inspired by the possibilities that working together will create for the future.
Olsem Wanem would also like to share this next video as an example of a project aimed at youth in Kenya. The International Labour Organization, Japan and Kenya implemented a project aimed at addressing the escalating youth unemployment in Kenya while improving rural and urban road infrastructure. From this video, see how you can learn from the similarities and know how we can change for a better future for our youth in Papua New Guinea.
As many developing countries, Kenya is a youthful country with 60% of the population currently between 18 and 34 years. This can potentially provide the country with a huge economic workforce which can be exploited for the growth of the economy. But, despite the sustained economic growth realized in the recent years, Kenya is still faced with acute socio-economic challenges, including unemployment. The youth are among the highly affected by the current socio-economic situation in the country. It is estimated that about 38% of the youth are neither in school nor working, a time bomb waiting to explode if not addressed properly. The government of Kenya acknowledges that unemployment among youth and the prevailing social imbalances are the most pervasive problems that the country is confronted with, and it is committed to broad-based policy reforms and programs meant to address these challenges. As part of this initiative, the government of Kenya, with the support from the International Labour Organization and the government of Japan, is implementing the Youth Employment for Sustainable Development, YESD in short, project. The project is providing the youth with marketable skills, decent jobs, and business opportunities in the infrastructure sector, thereby empowering them to contribute towards socio-economic growth of the country.
We have demonstrated that we have a capacity, very huge capacity for employment creation. Especially when you create employment, you leave the money with the people. And through our studies, we have seen how significantly employment creation, especially through roads, how it empowers the people where the roads pass through.
Government is working very closely not only with the social partners, that is trade unions, employers and workers, but also with other stakeholders to deal with the issue of youth unemployment in this country, because the majority of our population, more than 60%, is actually youth, and many of those youth are actually out there unemployed, and that is why we are trying as government to encourage youth not only to be job seekers but also to be job creators.
The project will link broader employment, economic and social policies to targeted interventions aimed at overcoming the specific disadvantages faced by young people in entering and remaining in the labor market.
And that concludes this edition covering youth in Papua New Guinea on Olsem Wanem. We will continuously follow the progress of the National Youth Commission and update you throughout the year. If you have any stories or issues you'd like to share, you can contact Olsem Wanem via the contact details showing on your screen. Don't forget to add us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching, take care, and until next time, enjoy the rest of your viewing on your #1 station and TV.